Furlan Marri's latest watch, the Disco Volante, pays homage to iconic stepped bezel watches produced by multiple luxury watchmakers in the 1930s, bringing the design back in a more accessible and adventurous format. This watch doesn't reference any single timepiece, but rather a variety of watches with large stepped or decorated bezels produced throughout the 20th century that have all been dubbed Disco Volantes, many of which featured lugless designs that made their watch heads appear to hover above one's wrist. Disco Volante is Italian for flying saucer and refers to the round and futuristic design of these watches. Some watchmakers who notably produced pieces include the Holy Trinity of Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin, and to my eyes, this Furlan Marri take on a Disco Volante has been most inspired by the Audemars Piguet reference 5093, which was designed by the legendary Gerald Genta in 1953. The Furlan Marri design features a curved, stepped bezel, alternating between concave and convex layers, with a hidden crown and a lugless design. Most Disco Volante watches back in the day were made from gold, but Furlan Marri's is made from steel, polished to a brilliant shine that gives it an almost pebbly look on the wrist. It looks pretty period correct, until you take a closer look at its dial. 3 colourways are available at launch: Havana Disco, which is salmon and brown, Disco Celeste, which is white and blue, and Disco Verde, which is cream and green, all of which feature colour-matched Italian leather straps. These fun colours set the Furlan Marri Disco Volante apart from vintage references already, but turn the lights off and their real point of difference is revealed. Thin tracks of lume running around the numerals and small seconds, as well as on the hour and minute hands. Furlan Marri has really lent into the sci-fi connotations of the Disco Volante name. These watches look like proper flying saucers. Furlan Marri have explained that they want to reconcile us with much smaller watch diameters with their Disco Volante. Vintage Disco Volante watches typically featured case diameters of 36mm or smaller. However, despite their stated intentions, the Furlan Marri Disco Volante measures up at 38mm. Average to slightly small by modern standards, but large by vintage standards. It is, however, rather thin, at just under 9mm tall. That's thanks to the manual winding Peseux 7001 that powers this watch, which is only 2.5mm tall itself. The Peseux 7001 is a prolific calibre, known for its reliability and relative simplicity. However, in classic Furlan Marri fashion, the brand has significantly overhauled the 7001 for their Disco Volantes. The 7001's bridges have been redesigned and beautifully finished, with diamond polished edges, hand-finished beveling, Cote de Genève and straight-grained flanks. Now, I'd like to put it to you, is 38mm still too small? Or do you think Furlan Marri could have made their Disco Volante even smaller? How do you feel about the current trend towards smaller diameters? Let me know in the comments. Furlan Marri's Disco Volante is the perfect blend of classic and contemporary. It's a pastiche of multiple eras of design and watchmaking. Its case and its dial are quite 30s, but the alien-like lume makes you think of 60s sci-fi, or perhaps 90s designs like Ichabod or the Nike Triax. Yet, it's also a watch perfectly poised to take advantage of today's revived interest in shaped watches, like the Cartier Pebble or Banois. It's what makes it so interesting. It's definitely one for the enthusiasts. The other thing that makes it interesting is its price. At $2,780 US, it represents a significant step up in price for a Furlan Marri, but compared to the price of vintage Disco Volante pieces in today's market, it's a lot more accessible to the average watch enthusiast. In that sense, it democratises one of the most coveted types of vintage-shaped watches, while also setting a high bar for finishing and flair. All I've got to say is, beam me up, Scotty. Hey, if you enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing to Time+Tide if you haven't already. And until next time, don't be a stranger.